I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, and thank you everyone for coming. First item of business is approval of the December 19th study session minutes.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next, public comment.
You want me to come up now?
Hello?
You don't have to amend the agenda.
Yeah, because you only get 2 minutes.
All right, well, that's fine with me, 'cause I'm not gonna need a whole lot more than that. We got our wires crossed on when I was gonna be here. He had down the 16th, and I had down tonight, so I got here, I said I'm gonna do it tonight. I don't have a whole lot to report anyway. First of all, I want to thank you for letting me serve as your judge for the last 14 plus years. I've enjoyed it and will continue to do it as long as you let me for another year and a half or so. There haven't been much changes, relatively speaking, in the court this year. You know, we've had several years where there have been major changes, and we haven't seen that this year, so it's settled down some. We're still seeing fairly regular changes in show me courts, that where they're changing a form or a process or something like that, that doesn't really affect me, but it affects the clerks. So they're constantly having to learn new stuff and do new things, and on the phone to Oscar fairly regularly. The only real major change we've seen that I still haven't figured out why they did it. In the past, when I've issued a warrant for somebody, a warrant for arrest for somebody not showing up, they took one piece of paper to do it. Now it takes 3. And I'm not sure why they did that, but that's the way it is. That's the only real change I've seen this last year. I do want to say something to you, how much I appreciate what you all do. Most of you know that I served in the legislature, state legislature for 12 years, and I had an opportunity to work with people on the local level, elected officials, state and federal. And I will tell you that, in my opinion, aldermen and mayors have the toughest job, with the possible exception of the president, of any of those positions. You live right next to the people that have got complaints. And you're going to hear, if you haven't heard them, raise your hand. Yeah, exactly. Because you affect the things that you have some control, not always, over the things that affect them on an hourly and daily basis, in their water, their sewer, whether their snow gets removed in the next few days or not from the streets. I mean, whether their neighbor's yard is, you know, you don't have much control over that, but whether their neighbor's yard's cleaned up or not. And let me tell you that it's long been my opinion that you have the toughest job being the elected official in this nation. And I appreciate it. So I'm glad to take any questions if you got any. That's really all I've got to report this year. So.
Are we good? You think the software and everything we got, we're good for a little while at least?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're making minor changes to it, but it's stuff that all they're doing in software that the state does, and Oscar does. So as far as the hardware we've got, we're fine. So, all right, go Chiefs. Mike, you know.
Try to be short, just like he was. Thank you guys for letting me be a prosecutor. I've been doing it for roughly the same amount of time as the judge has been the judge here. So, and I always enjoy coming out here for court night. Again, as he said, not a whole lot to report. We kind of have a good system, and it seems to flow pretty smoothly. The Supreme Court, who governs the way that we operate on our procedure, keeps changing. And so, as he started to mention with the clerks who are kind of under his purview, every time they change it, sometimes they don't tell us that that it's been changed, and we show up one day and the system's different than it was, and they don't give you any procedure on what's been changed. So On the prosecutor side of things, I've got my clerk that works for me, and she suffers from the same ailments that come when they make a change on stuff and don't bother to tell anybody. And this show me court system that they've gone to for the municipal prosecution side of things, they took a system that worked really good before, that took about 3 steps, and they now made it like a 25-step process. And it does the same thing, it's just a lot bulkier and slower by doing it. The other thing that's kind of come up is they've started these redaction rules. And so you can't have personal identifying information of various natures like dates of birth, any victim names, anything has to be blacked out, redacted off of any documents that we file, and that includes the charges that we file as the prosecutor. So now instead of having the one form that we used to put our name on and send it through and get to the court side, we have multiple forms, and we have to have different versions of it. We have to have the regular version, then we have to have the redacted version, and it'll have to go through the computer system on the 25-step process for each one. And so they made it more and more difficult. We used to it seemed like it was so much easier before, and I know every jurisdiction's got to deal with this. I've gotten to get a little bit of time under my belt with the new chief, who I guess isn't really our new chief anymore, but he's been around for a little bit, and I've gotten to work with him and gotten to know him a little bit, and it's been a real pleasure getting to work with him as the prosecutor. So him and I talk on a pretty regular basis, and it seems like all the time we're on the same page. He's been great. If I need something, he's been getting it over to me as a prosecutor, and I think when he's called me with questions on the enforcement side, I've been able to help him and make sure I get his issues answered as well. Maybe the one thing that bears just a little bit of note is we have been dealing with for, I think it's over a year now, there had been one house that had this giant camper that was out for a long, long time, that we had so many citizens complaints, and we wrote tickets. I think we have finally gotten that place cleaned up. I have not seen a new ticket come through since we did the big resolution. But I'm thinking that on one of our dockets, that took up nearly half of our docket. So there was probably 60 plus violations between mother and daughter that we had issues with. But I think that's finally gone. Again, I sound like a repeat a little bit of what the judge says, but I appreciate you guys letting me be your prosecutor, and I hope to continue in that role as long as you'll have me. Thank you.
Let me add real quick on that redaction stuff. What he didn't tell you was not only did he have to file a redacted ticket and a redacted ticket, then he has to file another document telling what was redacted.
Here's everything under the black.
There are some lawsuits going on to try to set that aside, and I'm not sure exactly where they're at at this point.
That's a good one.
Well, thank you guys. I think on behalf of the board, we appreciate what you do for us. It's great for the city. We've spoken in the past whether or not we can afford to keep the courts. I think it's a great service to have the community be able to receive their justice adjudicated here in their own communities. So thank you for what you do to make that possible. I know that you've taken some cuts over the years to help us stay afloat on that. So thank you.
And has that budget kind of narrowed a little bit better?
It has. We're seeing, I think it's a confluence of the police department issuing citations and getting them in the system and letting it flow through. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but it seemed like it had narrowed to maybe like 15,000 or something, and we've been at 75. So
okay.
It's narrowed up quite a bit.
Good.
Let me mention that before this chief came on board, we had a period of time where officers just weren't writing tickets. And we had very few tickets coming through. And I think it was a result of leadership they had. Or lack thereof.
I know it's a delicate balance, right? You don't want to be too heavy-handed, but you got to enforce something. So it's a balance.
Next up, approval of the bills list.
Move to pay up.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We shall pay the bills. Old business discussion, consideration of possible action regarding wastewater treatment plant financing. I did meet with, I had a phone call with the guy at the central bank His deal was he needed to get a hold of the people at Gilmore Bell. He didn't think we necessarily needed to utilize third-party financing, but in his own words, he said he was not an expert on municipal finance, so that's why he wanted to talk to Gilmore Bell. But the rate would be basically the 10-year treasury plus 2, so it'd be about 6.5% right now. And he thought we could get that done. It was between Christmas and New Year's, and so there was a lot of folks that he needed that he wasn't sure would be around. So I think next week, I think he told me he thought he'd have an answer for me by the 9th. But that'd be a week from today. But it seems feasible as we were talking numbers, and he could see our accounts and what have you. That kind of the theory I was putting forward, he could see how that would work, and he thought it could be doable. So it's not that I got anything against D.A. Davidson, but we're going to have to give them $20,000 or $30,000 to do this, and we can put it towards the debt and getting the project that much further down the road. Let's do that, because we're still going to need them for the big projects if the legislature comes through and stuff. We're going to need to have folks that will help us get cash. So that's what I know about that. And well, since we didn't amend the agenda, do have just kind of to get everybody. I did receive a email this afternoon from one of the former aldermen with some questions around the snow removal plans and stuff. So, but if Mr. Case wouldn't mind giving us kind of a rundown on what the Public Works has got planned for.
Snow's on the ground, we just get it off the roads. Obviously, we've been pre-treating today. Once we get done pre-treating, we're gonna kind of see what the weather does. This stuff's good for 3 days. We're gonna pre-treat again tomorrow and probably Saturday as well, ahead of the storm. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything. We've got an overabundance of it down there. It's been there for a while. We are cycling it as we speak. It's not the plant running right now. The tire's cycling to get it stirred up. So once we get that running and get all that out, then we'll get some new material in. It does get delivered, and we got to buy it at 3,000 gallons at a time. So, get the old out, get some new in. Once the snow's down and we get it pushed out, we will go over with salt, because it just seems to work better on top of stuff. But other than that, I
And
think
the salt spreaders are operational. We're good there.
Yep. The cutting edge is getting put on the truck right now as we speak, so I can pick it up tonight or tomorrow. I'll probably do it tomorrow because I want to get the rest of the streets treated. I've got all of the north of 24 highway done, and then pretty much this section back over here. There's a couple streets left to hit. After that, then we'll just move on south and get all that stuff done tonight. So everything will be treated as of tonight with the beaches. So then I picked up the cutting edges for the rest of the plows and went ahead. All the plows were getting pretty low, so we might as well start out fresh. No need to get into an actual blade and cause more damage. So that'll be eliminated. Salt spreaders are running. The one that we've had for a while, we did test Tuesday, made sure everything worked right, sprayed it down, cleaned the bed out and stuff like that. So I think we're ready to go. Box blades on the skid loader if we decide or need it, that's also available.
So that can help us out here getting some of the
Yeah, as long as it's not too much, because box blade's a little overkill for what we got. So once you get so much in there, you just waste the time then. So usually a truck will do a little bit better if it's a real heavy wet snow. So, but other than that, I think we're gonna be all right.
Okay.
Feel free if you guys get bored and want to take a ride along. You can see exactly what we do. You're more than welcome to.
And one of the things I know we've talked about in the past as just a contingency is this building is on generator. The difference in the air conditioner versus the heat is that the heat is gas. So we believe that we should stay able to stay warm in here if the power does go out. And there was some discussion about the viability of using this as a warming center in the event that the power does go out to the community. I don't know, any feelings on that? My thought is it goes out at 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon, as long as the fourth quarter's over, we're good. But, you know, who's gonna sit, you know, make sure that folks don't tear the place up.
Yeah, that's true.
But my thought was also that for folks, and as I understand it, the floor plugs are hot on the generator, but the wall plugs are not. Is, you know, there's some folks that may be on oxygen concentrators or something that need to be recharged, that this would at least give them an opportunity to have someplace. Hopefully those guys have got tanks and generators of their own, but you never know. It'd just be something that we could put out there in the event that it happens.
I mean, worst case scenario, too, you got plugged and you get long stitcher cords and plug into the offices in there, but not here, so at least you can plug stuff into it, worst case.
Yeah. So, any thoughts?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Again, you have to have a custodian down here though.
Right. I don't know what it,
I mean, police department can open it up the building, kind of keep an eye on it.
Okay.
okay.
I got two on all night anyway. One of them was sitting here and make sure nobody destroys the place, burns it down.
That would be good. So we can put that in the event of, and it may be one of those things that, so we look at the deal and KCP&L says the power's gonna be back up in 2 hours, you don't mess with it, but if they say it's gonna be 2 days,
Yeah.
then doing it that way, so that it's not, for just kind of incidental inconvenience, by the time we got it opened up and whatnot, the problem's fixed and.
How are we gonna communicate that if that does happen?
Well, I think if we maybe, if, I don't know, if, well, one, I can send the individual that contacted me and let them know that in the event that it's more than, you know, a short-term outage,
Right.
that we would be opening it up for that, and then we could put it on the text caster at the time, once we got the notice that the power's out for a day.
But we won't utilize the city Facebook page?
Oh, we can.
Okay, I'm asking.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I didn't know
And
who
then
our.
I can power that, and then I can, I take my laptop home every night and I can hook up to the electronic sign and change it from my house if needed be.
Okay.
Then I can remote into the server.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'd already.
Of course, there's no electricity, that won't do any good. Yeah.
Well, some is on emergency backup power now. They actually got that in and installed. So it's, I think it's 30, I think it's like 3 hours of backup or something like that. I can't remember. It is on emergency backup.
What-
But the IT room is hooked to the generator too, so.
The sign out at the highway, there's no electricity.
Oh.
I didn't know it was on the, I didn't know that was on the.
No, I didn't think,
Yeah, that's- yeah,
yeah, you're right. The sign is
yeah,
separate here,
yeah.
that's how, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so the text caster, I mean, I guess that'd be the other thing, is making sure that we got a way to get a signal out to send the message,
Yeah.
but we could let them know in the event of, and maybe asking folks to, if you got a driveway, can you park in your driveway so that we got
Right.
better lanes? We don't have an ordinance that says you have to, but it'd be a good thing to do. So. Any other comments or thoughts for the good of the order? No, take an order to adjourn, or a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks for coming tonight, we appreciate your time. We stand adjourned.